Hello friends, welcome to this live stream. And if you do not know, my name is Chandrakant and I am the co-founder of Akulmach Technologies. And today we will talk about how you can get rid of your public speaking fear and how you can become a remarkable orator, controlling the crowd, controlling the audience. And by the way, in this live stream, we allow you to join with your mic and camera. So the process of joining with your mic and camera is given in the description below. Kindly follow those steps and join me live here with your mic and camera, and you can also have a discussion with me or even debate. If you have questions, you can also post it while you are live along in this live stream. All right, so lines are open and I am waiting for you to join in. Let us continue our discussion. The discussion is about how to get rid, how to remove all your fears and become a remarkable orator, especially public speaking. Because public speaking is a skill which is required in abundance. It is one of the skills which none of the AIs will be able to steal from you. So therefore, if you inculcate the public speaking, then you have a lot of relevance going forward, because these are the skills which are required by not only by your company but also by others. If you speak nicely and if you have ability to basically convey the message to the audience in the right format, your skill sets can never be taken away by a machine. So understand this very clearly, and therefore there are 5 steps. The step number 1 is craft your message. So a lot of leaders basically create their speech. They use certain words. They actually make sure that the speech is very well written, and there are pauses, there are punctuation, there are a whole lot of grammatical nuances which are built into your speech. There are speech writers, there are content writers. So if you want to basically go for a seminar or a webinar where you have to address a huge audience of at least 50 people or even upwards of that, then you must be able to understand what the people are expecting from you. What is that will resonate with all these hundreds of people, basically masses. So you must make sure that your message is crafted beautifully. Message is crafted for the masses. Don't use very heavy words. Don't use very long sentences which will have very little meaning. The best thing to do is craft the messages, craft your sentences as short as possible. But your sentences must convey lot of meaning. So make sure that you practice the way of writing. Suppose you are making your own speech, make sure that you are writing the speech, or building that narrative in your mind, the way you want to speak, in the way that it has minimum words and maximum meaning. So that is one thing which you must understand. It is required, especially if you want to get into public speaking. Must practice how do you convey maximum meaning in minimum words. It shouldn't happen that if you have too many words and very little meaning, then your presence itself will become very boring. People will think that, okay, he talks a lot, he talks for 1 hour, 2 hours to convey something which I can learn within 15 minutes. So make sure that your messaging has to be perfect. Your messaging has to be written in such a way that it provides maximum meaning without speaking too many words. Now, if you are able to do that, then you don't have to basically memorize long speeches. You can memorize the points. I mean, if you look at Prime Minister Modi, he speaks very little words, but the meaning is very heavy, and that is why his simple words resonate along with the masses. You don't have to be a PhD to understand a Prime Minister Modi speech. So that is why this is one quality that we must learn from politicians. In fact, why Mr. Modi? Every politician is master of basically crafting the messaging, crafting, and also making sure that how you are being perceived as well. So that is the first step. We will come to the other part, but this is the first step. What is that you're going to speak to the public? Make sure that it resonates with the public. All right, so that is the most important activity that you must do. moving on, the step number 2 is you have to conquer your fears. Public speaking is not easy. Moment you get in front of 10 people, you start getting bombarded with a lot of these things that, oh, how I am looking, what I'm talking. You become suddenly very conscious of standing in front of 150 people, 20 people, or even in some cases 1000 people. You get very conscious because now you're thinking about, okay, what this crowd is thinking about me. And then you also have a mic in front of you. Usually when you speak, the mic output on the speaker in a public forum is delayed by few microseconds. This is technical thing because it is basically to delay the feedback mechanism. So even that is a fear, because if you are speaking and suddenly you don't hear your voice coming out of those big loudspeaker, you get suddenly very conscious, and then your fear takes over. That is the point when it starts. So you walk into the stage, you see hundreds of people in front of you, and then when you start speaking, because you have already memorized your speech and you don't want to read it, you have memorized and you are basically talking to the audience, and suddenly you realize, oh, my voice is not going right, and that is when the fear starts kicking in. So obviously practice makes the man perfect. However, conquering fear is very important. You have to conquer your fear of public speaking. There are various ways of doing it. Some people like to keep something in their hand. Some people like to basically crack jokes. But again, cracking joke is something which is you can do it once you have conquered your fear. But there are various ways of doing it. Some people like to not think about it. Some people like to close their eyes, because looking at such a big crowd, especially in the first few instances of your walking onto the stage, will be very overwhelming. So the whole point is that practice will make you perfect. However, you must look at conquering your fears if you want to become a good public orator. And public orators are in great demand, because if you can convey your messages in minimum words, maximum meaning, that means you resonate with the at least 80 to 90% people in front of you, you are very successful in that case. So conquering fear is very important. What is step number 3? Engage with audience. Because audience consists of not only one type of person. I mean, if you are thinking that, okay, I will talk to scientists, and you'll talk too many heavy words, scientific words, because you think that the scientists are the people who will actually respect me for speaking such heavy words. But then if you go to another public forum, then there are engineers. In some other forum, there will be doctors. So look at politicians. They actually they have the capability to talk to any walk of life, to anyone. So when they are talking in a public forum, you don't have to get fixated on one particular stream. You need to find a way to engage with the audience. And now engaging with the audience again requires a lot of confidence. So you will not be effectively able to engage if you are actually having this preconceived fear in your mind. So first, as I said, number 2 is to get rid of the fear. Number 3 is learn the tips and tricks of engaging with audience. One of the simplest way is basically asking questions. So what happens is, if you ask a question, then you would know that, okay, audience are listening to you, or are they listening to you, or they are just hearing you. There is a lot of difference between hearing you and listening to you. All right. So can they respond to your questions? So you can ask them questions. Sometimes you can also ask them rhetorics. So I mean, you know the answer, but then you actually give a rhetoric, and then suddenly you start seeing the reaction of the public, people in front of you. If they resonate, if you see that, okay, they are understanding, they are nodding their head, that means they are listening to you. So there are various ways. Cracking a joke, as I said earlier, cracking a joke is also a good engagement. However, always use simple words, because you don't want to basically address certain set of society, certain set of audience. You want to basically generalize your speech, because when you are speaking in public forum, it has to be very generic, because you don't know who are in the public, what kind of people are present in front of you. Therefore, it is important to make simple generic words to be used. I mean, if you use very heavy words, then obviously you are you will not make any sense, and therefore engagement will come down. So if you use simple, generic, short sentences, your engagement with the general public will be higher. So make sure that whatever you're speaking, your content must be engaging. Now, when we talk about engagement, we should also talk about public appearance. The way you are looking. Are you looking smart or are you not looking smart? So the chances are, if you're looking smart and dressed up well and well groomed, then public will actually like looking at you. But if you're not dressed up well, you're not well groomed, then obviously the engagement will be less, because many people may not appreciate if you're not well groomed, not prepared for the public forum. So you have to always be well groomed, well trimmed, and well dressed, and then having the public etiquettes. That is a totally different discussion. We may need a complete new video for etiquettes in public speaking. However, you know what are those. You have to be well dressed, you have to be clear, you should be well groomed, trimmed, whatever the case may be, and must have proper etiquette. Make sure that when you are engaging with audience, don't use non-dictionary word. Sometimes it just comes out. Make sure that your verbiage is excellent. It should be as clear as possible. Whichever language you are using, make sure that you have the right verbiage in your language. So engagement is very, very important, because if you do not have engagement with the audience will not know what is that you have spoken. It will not leave a lasting impression, and if it does not leave a lasting impression, your public speech is of very little meaning. Make sure that whenever you speak in public, you always provide lasting impression, so that people start remembering, okay, this person came in front of me and he is spoke such beautiful words. And then one trick which I want to share is that even though there are 100 people, but then your engagement has to be on one-to-one basis. So when you are engaging with the large audience, make sure that you also maintain eye contact with at least few of them, so that and then you must look at general directions of all these audiences in every side of the stage, because when the audience are looking at you, they are not looking in a group, they are looking individually. So whenever you speak, if your face and eyes are in contact with your audience, they may feel that, okay, this person had a glance at me and he was talking to me. So that creates again a good impression. So let me summarize. Engagement requires good knowledge of the subject, requires good language, requires well dressed. You must be looking good, smart, well groomed, and make sure that when you're talking, you're making sense and in connection with your audience. What next? Step 4. If you bring all these things together, your delivery must be perfect. Now, sometimes when you're basically engaging, if you have a very long speech, after 5 minutes, people will lose interest. So you can break down your speech into small anecdotes every 2-3 minutes, so that the momentum keeps going on and there are breaks in between, so that people don't get bored. So this way you can actually plan your speech. Suppose the time given to you is like 20 minutes, you can break it down into multiple sections, and then after each section you can have some sort of a quiz, a question, or some movie being played, some sort of a slide coming up in during which you have a respite and don't speak. So every public speech has to be planned properly. It has to be perfected in terms of delivery. You need to basically prepare those notes. What is that you're going to speak, when you will break, when you break, what will happen during that break, in order to continue your speech for 20 minutes, so that it looks like one package, a continuous package, a complete flow of ideas or the subject that you're talking about. So that is why it requires a lot of perfection, and best way to do this perfection is that you can actually start practicing in front of close relatives and close friends inside the closed door before you come in front of public. And even your closed door audience must hear and provide critique your speech and provide you feedback very very seriously. It should not be a light matter, because if they are light inside the indoors, then you will not be very successful when you actually come in front of hundreds of people. So therefore perfection is very very important. Perfection of your delivery is very important. And the last point is the question and answer, Q&A. So what happens is people actually give big speeches, but then they don't want to take questions, and that leaves an impression in the public that okay, you spoke about all these things, maybe you have mucked up the whole thing, maybe it's not your own idea, maybe okay, you have spoken but you're not taking any questions. So I think these are the things which are very important. Always take questions. Now you can limit the questions. You can say that I've spoken for 20 minutes, but for Q&A I will have only like 5 minutes. So within 5 minutes, how many questions you can answer? Like 5, 1 per minute. But make sure that you must plan this Q&A part of it. But if you don't have Q&A, if there are no questions, then obviously people did not appreciate what you were speaking. If there are very little questions, I think that's also one feedback that you can get after your speech. If people are not asking any questions, then success of your speech is not too great. And if you do not have a Q&A session, again, by design, you have not provided that opportunity for audience to revert back to you. So always make sure that there are questions coming in and you are handling these questions. Now, handling questions like a pro. So what happens is, if there are very difficult questions, some people will say, okay, give me this answer, but you don't have an answer. So in that case, you can actually take help of one of your colleagues who is better equipped to answer. So make sure that if you do not, first of all, you must have complete knowledge of the subject. But just in case, if you do not have, then make sure that you have a backup plan, and that will make you a pro in handling the questions. You must actually visualize all eventuality that can happen during your public speaking. So friends, if you follow some of these guidelines that I've told you, you will become a good public speaker, a good orator, and you will be able to handle the audience like a pro. You will be able to convey the meaning of your speech to the masses, and it is very very important for you to know exactly why you're speaking, to whom you're speaking, and you must prepare your script. And if you do not do this, then your public speech will not bring a lot of results. But if you are preparing your public speech, then you can achieve something out of it. So do let me know what you think about this. If you have any comments, any questions, do write back and I will respond to you in the next one. Till then, be safe, be kind, and see you in the next one.